Hey everybody, my name's Greg. I'm the lead pastor at Brookside Baptist Church in Kanata. We have just begun a new series called Believable, Faith in an Age of Reason. And this past Sunday we looked at the resurrection of Jesus Christ and why it's credible, why you and I can have confidence that we can believe that Jesus actually did rise from the grave. If you'd like to find out a little bit more about it, you can go and listen to the whole audio of the sermon online. It's at www.mybrookside.church. Today, what I'd like to do, just for a couple of minutes, is to share some answers to some questions that were texted in during the sermon, during the teaching time. And these come from the people in the audience as they were listening. They're great questions, and I want to jump right in. The first question was asking about the question of Jesus knowing beforehand that he would rise from the grave. During the message, during the teaching time, one of the things I said was that Jesus called it beforehand. He said, I am going to rise from the grave after I die, and then it happened. And the question was, if all we have are biblical accounts of that, then how do we know it actually happened? That's a good question. So let me answer by focusing in on one key thing, and that's eyewitness testimony. To me, eyewitness testimony, if reasonable and if we can trust the sources, is a powerful line of evidence. And what we have are multiple sources of eyewitness testimony that corroborate each other, that show that they agree in very, very many instances, enough where we can have a reasonable expectation that it's true. If you were to see an accident as you were driving home or something like that, and you were a witness to that, the police would come and they would ask for your statement. They would ask you to write down, or they would take it down, what you saw, and that testimony would be added to the testimony of anybody else that was there, and all that testimony together would be taken to court to either convict or show the innocence of somebody that was either at the scene or not. So eyewitness testimony can be a very powerful, persuasive tool. Now, one of the things that a lot of people can easily forget is that the New Testament writings of the Scriptures are not just the work of an individual who sat down and started writing all these books. They are actually a compilation. They're a gathering and a combining of individual independent works that all share the same story, that all show the same thing. They were independent, yet they shared the same details. So even that in itself is strong testimony, strong evidence of what Jesus said. So as you look at those sources of testimony, what you can do then is ask the question, how reliable are the witnesses? That's a good question. And we actually look at that question in the teaching that we did this past Sunday, and you can find that online, as I mentioned earlier in this video. The second question that I want to take a minute and respond to is the question of the uniqueness of the resurrection. One of the texts that came in said that it's great that Jesus rose from the dead, but there are a number of occurrences in the Bible where people rose from the dead, and it's true. There are a number of examples in both the Old Testament and the New Testament where individuals were raised from the dead. Some of them were powerful experiences. Some of them were actually almost humorous. To be honest, one example in the Old Testament was of a dead person being taken by mourners to the graveside. They get spooked by some raiders, and they actually just throw the body into an opening in the ground. It's like there's a cave. It turned out to be a burial spot where a prophet of God had been laid to rest already, Elisha. And when the body of this dead person fell and landed on the bones of Elisha, he came back to life. pretty incredible. Other examples, 1 Kings 17, where Elijah is praying to God for the life of the son of the widow that has been looking after him. And God grants his wish and gives life back to this child. In the New Testament, we find other examples where Jesus, one probably to me one of the most beautiful is when Jesus is walking along the road and he passes by a funeral procession. And in that funeral procession is the mother, a widow, the mother of the young man who's died tragically. And Jesus wells up with compassion, and he reaches out and touches the boy and raises him back to life and gives him back to his mother. It's a beautiful expression. So there are multiple examples in the Bible where where people are raised back to life. So how is Jesus unique? How is Jesus different? It's a good question. Here's a couple of answers to the uniqueness of Jesus' resurrection, and they all start with P. Big surprise. I'm a pastor. Can't help it. So here we go. The first one is permanence. Jesus, when he rose from the dead, stayed risen. Everybody else in the Bible who was brought back to life, such as Lazarus, such as Jairus' daughter, such as the widow's son, they all ended up dying again. Their life was not permanent. Jesus' life was permanent. He rose from the grave and then he ascended into heaven, never to die again. So that is a unique expression of Jesus' resurrection. Another is that Jesus died to pay for your sin and for mine. Jesus didn't die because he was sick. He didn't die because he was in battle. Jesus died because he willingly went to pay the price for your sin and for mine. He paid the price at the cross, dying, and when he rose again, he rose to prove that what he did was true. He said, I am the Son of God. He said, I have come to pay the price for your sin, and I am laying my life down for it, and I will prove it. And that's the third P, proof. When I rise from the dead, Jesus was saying, when he rose from the dead, he was proving that what he had come to do was reliable. We could trust it. We could take it to the bank. We don't have to worry about whether or not Jesus really did what he said he was going to do because he rose from the grave. We can have confidence then because of that. So Jesus' resurrection is entirely unique. But as we're told in 1 Corinthians 15, he's the first fruits, he's the first. And we will be able to follow one day because of him. So have a great day. Keep on digging.